Actually, it's the lead play in our offense.
Tell the tackle to take the defensive end if he's over him. If he's not, you drive down the first man to his inside. Pull back and tell him to take the first man outside the offensive tackle. No one goes. Go right by them and field inside. If the YN has the linebacker taken out, he cuts inside. If the YN has the linebacker in, he comes all the way around. So look at this play. What we're trying to get is a seal here and a seal here, and try to run this play in the alley.
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on Packernet.com. You can find me on Twitter at Packers_access. I'm joined alongside Jacob from the Packernet Fantasy Podcast. We got Tim live in Green Bay. We got a fun little show for you guys and gals this evening. The chat's already lighting up. We got Don in the house. We got Shaw. We've got Zane Strong, Larry up in here. We got United Bates. What's up, guys? And Don said, listen, we're wasting no time, gang. Let's get right into it. He said, great football content. The players like Joe Barry, but do you think they need to respect him more? A lot of freelancing, lack of discipline towards the scheme. And he's basically asking a question there. I think that's a fair assessment. You know, they do seem to like Joe Barry. And again, when you see him play, Tim, I'm going to ask you this question and kind of steer it in your direction. When you see them not make plays on the field, again, I watch the tape. I don't see a flawed scheme. I see lack of execution. Do you think they could play into it a little bit? Because I could kind of see that. You know how it was in school when you had a substitute teacher, right, that you could just kind of push over rather than the one that's going to – back in my day, they break the paddle out on you, but that's a story for a different podcast. Some of you kids would freak out if you went to school when I went to school, especially elementary school. But they were looking for a reason to take out some anger on the child. I promise you that. But, Tim, what do you think about that, man? Do you think that there may be a little bit of that with Joe Barry?
I think so. There might be validity to that. Like I've said, I've seen Barry as a player's coach and a coach's coach. And, you know, that can be a double-edged sword. You want to get along with everybody you work with, and especially with people that are technically, you know, answering to you or working underneath you. That's a big part of it, but it's a fine line. You can't be everybody's friend. You can't, you know, you have to rule with an iron fist at the right time. So, you know, you're dealing with young men who make millions of dollars to play, you know, a game. So it's going to be tough enough when it comes to things like effort and things like that with certain players, not all, but some. And I also think this is true across the board in the NFL. A lot of teams, not all, but a lot, think they can win games on rep. Like their reputation is going to win them a ball game. Oh, this defense is really stout. They're gonna dominate, and they think that they can just kind of like mail it in, and that their reputation is going to carry them to a dub. And as we see, blowing a lead late in this game, that's, you know, kind of an example of what, you know, thinking that way can get you. So I don't know how to teach effort, and I don't know if that's something you can teach at the NFL level, or if you should even have to at this point. But, you know, maybe it's not for lack of effort. Maybe the execution is, you know, subpar for other reasons. You alluded to this yesterday, Clayton. It is possible that, you know, it could be a little bit of both. It's not all on these players, and it's not all on Joe Barry. And Joe Barry's the top dog when it comes to the defense, but you know, it goes without saying, this is a team game. So
yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it, man. It's just, I don't know. The thing I get aggravated the most in this conversation, especially on Twitter, and again, you shouldn't get aggravated on Twitter because, you know, I think they said 92% of communication is lost in transition when it comes to text messaging, right? And that's essentially what Twitter is. But when I hear people say Joe Barry needs to do more because he's got 8 first-round picks, just because you've got first-round picks, guys, doesn't, you know, look at Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy is arguably a top 5 quarterback in the league. He was the last pick in the draft. To just sit here and pretend that, okay, a first-round pick is a slam dunk. And I know people immediately say, I'm not saying it's a slam dunk, but out of 8, there should be some. Okay, we had 2 dropped interceptions yesterday. Want to take a guess who dropped them? It was 2 first-round picks, right? Now, football's a funny sport, right? Quay was our best defender. Not only did PFF agree with that, but before PFF even hit, you guys heard me on the postgame show, I'm like, Quay had a good day. If Quay picks that pass off, guarantee you has an elite grade again. He had that kind of day. He looked great. But, you know, I don't know. It's tough. It's tough. Let's go to Shaw real quick. Shaw in the chat says, I'm really excited about what Love is showing. Before people get worked up about the total yardage, they need to remember he had 2 40-plus yard completions taken from him due to pass interference. That's a very good point there, because if those do get completed and the penalty's not committed, you tack on 80 yards, right? 80-plus yards onto his total. It looks a lot better. Now, I will say this, Shaw. I came away from both of those games wasn't overly impressed with Jordan Love from a standpoint of, man, I feel like he's playing great. I thought he played good, I think, is where I would peak at. Now, the other thing about how he's performed, though, the one thing that you can't ask more of, the guy's protecting the football. And I did not expect that, because that was a knock on him his last year in college, right? Was decision-making and that type of thing. Also thought that he done a really, really good job getting us in and out of good looks that first game. Now, against Atlanta, I came away feeling a little bit worse about that. He missed some reads, but again, man, it's his first year starting. It's going to take some time. You know, Ryan talked about on his pod that, you know, that we need to lean on the defense a little bit. And again, you lean on the defense. Why? Look at all the draft capital that goes into that defense, right? But just to assume, and not that Ryan is, but just to assume that a player is going to be good because he's a first-round pick, is you're setting yourself up to be disappointed, right? And again, some of the worst plays yesterday were committed by first-round picks, and I want to say kudos to Rashawn Gary for owning up. Like, that's one guy that's like taking responsibility, and he seems like he is on a mission to fix that. And Tim's going to talk about that here in a little bit. But go ahead, Jacob. What you got, bud?
Can I just interject real quick, because we all sitting here talking about, like, why aren't our first round, draft picks on defense playing well? We look at what I would argue that Quay Walker has been maybe our best player on defense. Statistically, he has been. For PFF grades, he's had the best score for the last 2 weeks, and that's a massive year 2 jump. I would argue that Devonta Wyatt has looked okay. We'd like him to see, a little bit more improvement. Lucas Van Ness, that kind of thing. Early round draft picks showing up. Let's look at a team. If we really want to compare as to what the worst thing you could do would be the Minnesota Vikings. If you remember, they drafted Andrew Booth and they drafted Lewis Cine. Lewis Cine is a 5th string safety right now for them, and Booth can't even get on the field. And I think there was another one of those guys like the Quasi or whatever it was. So if you guys really want to look at what a poop show looks like, look at that team and then compare it to what we have now and guys that are actually stepping up for once. So
yeah, and a 1-point game, man, a 1 point. Like, again, after sleeping on it, you wake up and you still have that feeling like, damn it, that one got away from us, right? But you go, if someone had told me going in, there's a chance you get beat by Atlanta, I would say, duh, they're probably the better team, right? like I would have seriously looked at it that way. I didn't go into that game saying, no, we're a much better team than Atlanta. And then you X out all of the people that didn't play, including David Bakhtiari, which there are some rumors going around we'll get to here in a little bit. I don't know. I hear we've got a new segment coming up. We'll see how that shakes out. Let's see here. We got Daniel in the chat said, Jacob beat me in the Superflex League. Look at Jacob.
Right,
over
buddy.
gloat, man.
Right.
You're supposed to do this, Jacob. Love it. All right, so let's see here. The number 1 Packer fan says, so in my opinion, I don't like Joe Barry as a DC, never have, and didn't like the hire from jump. However, I can agree that the players didn't finish plays. Again, like Tim just said a second ago, they're number 1 Packer fan. It falls on both parties. And that's all I'm saying. Like, when I go on Twitter, and today was just an absolute crap show, I'm sitting there just going like, how can you put this all at the feet of Joe Barry? That makes no sense. And someone had a thread. I shared it. You can go to my Twitter and find it. I mean, if you comb through that thread and watch those plays, and the guy, of course, he was a sarcastic a-hole, and probably why I related to him, but he was like, man, can't believe Joe Barry dropped this interception. Man, can't believe Joe Barry didn't break on this ball. Man, can't believe Joe Barry gave up 3 broken tackles, which, by the way, that that one off the edge was sad. There was 3 defenders that ended up on their knees facing the defender or facing the ball carrier. That's how bad the tackling was. And people say, well, it's his job to teach tackling. I thought we had a bunch of first-round picks. Are you telling me that Joe Barry should have to teach a first-round pick how to tackle? Sorry, you can't have it both ways. You can't.
They're literally saying, like, you need to teach these guys fundamentals. Like, they're not in Pop Warner League, bro. This isn't the Little Giants. Like, this is the actual NFL football league.
Yeah, no doubt. Kevin Rogers in the chat says, I went to high school in Alpine, Texas, and they still were giving SWATs to students graduated in 2009. Texas will hold on to those those type of things as long as they can. And I like everybody who's ever lived in Texas and came to Tennessee and visited or even moved up here. We've got a couple that lives next door. They moved up here from Texas. Asked them why they moved. They said it just got a little too hot for us. So we were looking for a little bit cooler climate. But they said, man, you would love it. Just having a couple conversations with me, it sounds like Texas is an amazing place for sure. I want to comb through real quick, make sure we're not missing anything huge. We'll come back to the chat, guys. Let's get right into the first segment here, and that is the PFF grade. You guys good with that?
Yes, sir.
Doesn't matter if you are or not. We're doing it anyway, okay? That's how we're going to roll. Let me start that so we know where we left off. All right, so these are the team PFF grades for the first 2 weeks, okay? So they're all in now. Of course, we got Monday Night Football going on right now, so we've got 4 teams tonight that are still playing, but these are updated before these 2 games tonight. And by the way, the Saints are beating the Panthers right now 6-3 in the second quarter. But number 1, the Miami Dolphins, guys, they look like they are looking strong, man. The way that they played that game against the Patriots last night, solid performance, 87.8 for them. Number 2, you got the Dallas Cowboys, 86.2 with their 90.6 defensive grade. Number 3, you got the San Francisco 49ers at an 84.7 defensive grade of an 84.9. You've got number 4, the Baltimore Ravens at a 78.8. Number 5, the Philadelphia Eagles at a 77.2. Number 6, Tennessee Titans at 76.9. Tampa Bay Buccaneers at a 76.2. Detroit Lions at 76.0. Jacksonville Jaguars 75.0. New York Jets 74.7. New Orleans Saints 74.5. That's a team we got coming up. Atlanta Falcons 74.0. Washington Commanders 72.9. And then the Green Bay Packers at a 72.6. So we dip down to 14th. I'm just going to count them real quick. Above us, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 teams above us. So right now we're in the 9th spot according to PFF overall grades in the NFC. That's 2 spots lower than you need, 2 spots lower than you need to make the playoffs if we were to treat that as the standings. Jacob, what stands out to you right there with those PFF grades, man?
First of all, just Miami. Like, who really actually thought that? Everybody was so worried about Tua and his situation. I'm really worried about Dallas's defense. All of a sudden, like, or not all of a sudden, just as a constant, San Fran, can you just go away? Can you just go away? I have another conspiracy. We'll lead into that next week. I think Shanahan and Matt LaFleur separated at birth, and then whatever. We'll go into that later. Baltimore Ravens. That's just a whole rounded team right there. The Eagles are the Eagles. The Titans. The biggest surprise on this list for me is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because I'm sorry, Baker Mayfield looks like a new man, and I'm excited about it. I'm excited about that, and I'm okay with where Green Bay is. We get a little bit of hate. I'm not expecting PFF to give us all the love, but hey, guys, we're 1 step above the Bills, so yeah, I think that is like whatever. If you want to say we're being disrespected, we're being disrespected just as greatly or evenly as the Bills. We're right around there with the Vikings and the Browns and the Patriots. So not great, but I will accept it, and I'll go on.
According to PFF, the thing we do best is pass blocking at a 79.4. The thing we do worse is the run blocking at a 55.6. Tim, I don't think anybody would disagree with that run blocking grade. Do you, Bub?
Oh, no, not at all. And, how it's every so often you see teams that are just lights out and on both sides of the ball, both respects when it comes to your blocking. Most offensive lines are a little better one way or the other. Most offensive linemen would probably prefer to run block rather than being pass pro all day. So the emphasis was made to protect our new starter here. So I understand, and it's not that surprising that the run blocking has been has left some to be desired, which could explain some of our struggles with the run when Aaron Jones is not on the field, because Aaron Jones is dynamic enough that ineffective blocking kind of doesn't matter sometimes the way he plays. But guys like Dillon and our younger backs, they're going to be affected more by the lack of run blocking. So it's not super surprising to me.
Gotcha. All right, let's move on to the game itself against the Falcons. Okay, PFF grade. Overall, the Packers got a 64.7, offensive grade 66.7, passing grade 58.2. Again, when I seen the game live and watching Jordan Love play, I didn't come away going, he had a good game. I came away going, man, he left some plays on the field, right? And again, though, turnover differential, protecting the football, that's the top priority. He accomplished that for sure, but a 58.2 according to PFF. Pass blocking 70.2, receiving grade 73.9, running grade 69.9, run blocking 50.5, defense 60.7, run defense. This is a rough one here. Run defense.
What you got on the screen there, bud?
What's that?
I said we're not looking at the same thing, I don't think, on the screen.
The Atlanta Falcons game?
Oh, you're looking at that? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so the run defense grade against the Falcons, 44.6, tackling grade 69.7, pass rush grade 73.1, coverage grade 68.4, special teams 56.5. So the big thing there, run defense 44.6. Man, just like last year, right? Carrying right over. And again, why did they grade out so bad? A multitude of reasons. I could show you clip after clip after clip of guys just getting absolutely pancaked. I could show you clip after clip of defenders. On one play, 3 defenders got juked by Bijan, and all 3 of them ended up on the facing forward on their knees, where they literally just got juked and fell on their knees. I mean, it was bad. So the tackling, horrendous yesterday, and PFF definitely agrees with that. Jacob, what do you think of those grades? Anything you want to hit on before we move on to the offense specifically?
I mean, as far as the grades go, I guess no, I don't disagree with any of them. Like you talked about the I don't know, man. I guess do you believe that Jordan Love has had a harsh criticism as far like overall? I guess we can get to that specifically, but as far as like the team grades go, I wasn't surprised by those grades. I was hoping for better ones and that kind of stuff, but it's not exactly. It wasn't ideal. If you watch the Matt LaFleur press conference today, he seems he does not have any time. Dude, he has no time for these questions anymore. We'll get into the first one that we talked about, but like you watch the whole 20, 30 minutes. He does call out the offense or the defense multiple times, and it's clear that that's not acceptable for him. He also does recognize that the offense had its struggles, but like he talked about, like, what do you want him to do? Like, we had arguably our 4 best players out of that game. So those grades don't surprise me at all, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. Tim, anything you want to hit on there from that Falcons game, PFF grade?
Prison Matt. That's all I got to say. No, just looking at the grades. Yeah, that's hot booty. 44.6. That's not going to get it done. Yeah. Even the coverage grade was kind of low for our secondary, honestly, and that 56.5 special teams is
even the pass blocking grade, I would argue, was just really poor. Even though it's
yeah.
So, but again, we're 2 games in, so
right. It's one game, and what's crazy is when you look at those once again, just look at those scores, right? That looks bad. We lost by 1 point on the road. Like, that's encouraging that you could play that bad and only lose by 1 point, which I think is somewhat a testament to Matt calling the game. But at the same time, I understand everyone who has made the point that they disagree with this clock management. And, of course, he actually talked about that. I believe it was today. Rob Demovsky actually tweeted about it. It's probably on the ticker at the bottom here in just a second. But he basically took ownership of them getting that penalty and not being able to kick that field goal that we talked about on the postgame show. So just something worth mentioning there for sure. Let's go back to the offensive grades now. Individually, number 1, Jaden Reed, 82.9, fellas. 82.9. Excellent grade. Dontavian Wicks at number 2 with a 74.8. Josh Myers at number 3. And people go, whoa, Josh Myers, really? 67.3. That basically after Dontavian Wicks, it drops off bad.
Yeah.
AJ Dillon, 66.9. Luke Musgrave, 66.2. And again, when you look at the rookies, you know, if a rookie finishes in the 60s, guys, that's a pretty good grade for a rookie. You know, like if you look back on the past and how rookies have performed, if they perform in the upper 60s, you think, okay, you've got something there, right? You know, that's what we've seen with Eric Stokes. And then, of course, he took a huge step back before the injury last year. But Luke Musgrave, 66.2. Let's see, we got Yash, only 12 snaps, 66.2. Romeo Dobbs, 65.2. Samori Toure, 65.0. Elton Jenkins, 64.8. Emmanuel Wilson, 59.4. Zach Tom, 59.3. Had a rough game. Jordan Love coming in tied for 11th at a 59.3. If you had asked me yesterday, and someone actually did on Twitter, and my response was, I expect it to be somewhere around 63 would be my guess on Jordan Love. So a little bit lower than I expected, but in the ballpark. There were some people going, you're crazy, he had 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. That has nothing to do with consistency, right? It simply means he didn't turn the ball over and he threw 3 touchdown passes, right? It doesn't mean he was consistent the entire game. But again, I think it's something to build off of. Again, you protect the football and you show that you can handle those situations and win that turnover differential. You're going to win more games than you lose. Yesterday was just one of those weird days where you win the turnover differential, you scrape by the middle late, you win it, and somehow you lose by 1 point, right? And it really came down to the fourth quarter. Tucker Kraft, 59.0, but only 2 snaps. This is what bothers me. Tucker Kraft only getting 2 snaps. And then if you go down and jump down to the worst graded player on offense, Josiah DeGuara, 41.5. 41.5. Guys,
Yeah.
You heard me say it yesterday. The Josiah DeGuara experiment is over. And for those that are still saying, well, what I thought we were running San Francisco's offense, we have been saying it for 2 years now. This is Sean McVay's offense. This is not Kyle Shanahan's offense. They're from the same tree, same terminology, same skeleton, if you will. We play more in 12 than 21. And I'll tell you why we play in 12 more than 21, because Josiah DeGuara has been playing cheeks, and that's your fullback, okay? Like, he is no Kyle Juszczyk. I know we all had these great hopes that he would be that type of player. I'm as guilty as anyone. That's what I wanted to see coming out of Cincinnati, especially with Travis Kelce coming out of Cincinnati and them having this reputation of developing and growing these great tight ends. It just hasn't worked. You got to admit it was a mistake now. And if we're a young team and we're growing and we're building and all this stuff, get Tucker Kraft on the field. Let's see what he's got, right? The same thing we're doing with Luke Musgrave. That's kind of how I see that. But anyway, Jacob, what do you think about those offensive grades, Bo?
Well, it's not ideal, but what I will say is that if you look at the top 5, 3 of them are rookie specialty players that are unbelievably I'm very blown away with Jayden Reed. I think that he has exceeded my expectations. He just looks like a veteran out there. He looks like a guy when he caught those balls. Clayton, I wish we could have talked about this. There was one of those drives, can't remember exactly which one. It looked like they ran the same play to Reed 3 different times. It was almost like a post out kind of corner route, but they did it like on the left side of the field, right side of the field, left side of the field. And then I believe the last one was a touchdown that he caught. And I don't know, you're way better with the terminology and all that kind of stuff, but I would really like to see that. It almost looked like when you play your brother in Madden, when they're like, you guys are both young, just same route. And then your brother throws a controller. It's like, why did we stop? Why did we stop doing that? I'm very excited about Dontavian Wicks. I really do think that he should have caught that ball. That was maybe Jordan Love's best throw that he made the whole game, in my opinion. It was an absolute dime, just dropped into the basket, and
that was just good defense on that play. I'm not putting that on quick.
I was going to say that was really, really, it was a perfect throw, perfect route, perfect defense. And so at that point, I can't hate on that at all. But it's nice to see Josh Myers. But like you said, I've almost already put him in the position of like, we got to replace him. So even though he has one decent day where he's like in the top echelon of the crappy, people, like I don't really know what more to think about that. Could you bring that up one more time, Clayton, the offensive grades, so I could get the when I look at Jordan Love, it's not that I disagree with this. at all, really. It's just that I thought that maybe I was going to say, okay, his run grade. And somebody commented about the fact they'd like to see him run more. If you watch that whole the whole Matt LaFleur interview, they asked him, what did you think about Jordan Love? And specifically on the one where, if you guys remember, he ran out, did kind of like a weird, it wasn't a spin move, but it was like a juke move where he left his whole body exposed. He took a hit, then kind of shuttered off and ran forward. And they're like, did you talk to him about that? And Matt said, yeah, I did. And I told him to stop that, basically. and he's like, and he came back and he said that Jordan Love literally, he goes, don't do that anymore, please. Like, don't do that. And he goes, well, I thought we needed a spark. And he goes, okay. And like, he literally acknowledged the fact that his quarterback understood that his guys will get riled up, get fired up, and that extra little effort right there. And so it was cool to see that LaFleur acknowledged, like, it was almost that Holmgren Favre moment where it's like, no more rocket balls, please. You know what I mean? And I'm tuned up. Like, and it was the same thing. He's like, don't.
You think God never farted?
And yeah, and that's the thing. Clint Green just said, I kind of like Love doing some trash talking. If you have noticed this about Love, which I did not expect, when that guy gets a little bit of a cheap shot, gets a little bit of a shoulder in him, he gets up and he gets mad. And then all of a sudden, he gets tractor beam honed in. And I'm almost like about it. Like, okay, let the guy take a shot and then watch him just go like that meme where he gets those laser eyes and he just hones in. I'm about it. I'm cool with it.
Yeah, definitely. We got Cody Newberg in the super chat here. Appreciate the support there, buddy. He said, maybe I'm late, but have we fired Joe Barry yet? I just found out today he was DC of the Lions 0-16 team. Shaking my head. What year was that, fellas? Somebody remind me?
A few years ago.
2013?
No, that was 20, I believe. Was it 2019?
Was that recent?
I don't think it was.
You guys was
had to be one of our, was it 17 or 18?
I thought it was 2019, but I might be stupid.
I'm trying to remember.
Ex-lifeless NFL
right.
Man, that's a long name, bro. 20. He says 2018. 2008. Good lord.
No, it was 2008.
That's what he said. That's what he's saying.
Yeah, 2007, 2008. He was the DC. So,
okay,
guys, how long ago was that? It may help you here. Yeah. So we're
over a decade.
Thank you for the super chat, Cody. But everybody like to point it out that Bill Belichick got fired in Cleveland, right? And then he goes on to create a dynasty. I'm not trying to say Joe Barry is Bill Belichick. I know that's immediately the extreme some people would go to, but I'm just saying that's a long time ago. And it was one of the worst teams. Will we all agree it was one of the worst teams in the history of the league? I believe they didn't win a game, right? Yeah. Like, so if you're telling me he had talent and didn't know how to use it, it's going to be a hard sell, man. It's going to be a hard sell with those Lions teams back then. But again, thank you so much for the super chat, man. All right, let's see here. R. Shower says, I think DC or Kenny have to become more vocal. I guess he's meaning Devondre Campbell. If it isn't Barry, I think it is, then people's manhood has to come into question and has to come from a veteran who doesn't suck regularly. It's funny you mentioned that because Tim is going to break down an article here in a minute that Rashawn Gary got very vocal, and it sounds right on par with what you're talking about that you're looking for, Showers. I think you'll enjoy that when we get to it. Let's move on to Tim, did you get a chance to talk about the offensive grades? Anything you want to add there, Bob?
Not really, other than while we're kind of on the subject of Jay Love, Jacob was talking about, his, attitude as a leader. I just wanted to mention, I thought it was great that he stood up today and just said that that busted sneak was on him and that he didn't give the signal word, the correct word. So, we can't blame Josh Myers for that. As a matter of fact, we'd be blaming Josh Myers if he did snap the ball and we end up with a fumble or something. Ooh. So the fact that he didn't hear the code word and stayed neutral and didn't snap the ball is a good sign. So, and it says a lot about our quarterback who could have easily took the old, high road and passed it off or passed the buck, passed the blame without naming names, but he didn't. He owned up to it right away. I think that speaks a lot to his credibility as a leader. So just wanted to give Jay Love some props.
Gotcha. Definitely. All right. Cody's back in the chat. Another super chat. Appreciate you, Cody. He said, no, but I'm telling you, he has talent now and doesn't know how to use it. LOL. Okay. When you say he doesn't know how to use it, what does that mean? I'm assuming you mean put him in a position to make a play, right? Okay. We had 2 dropped interceptions where the players you couldn't have put them in a more perfect place. Jair playing the 2 on a cover 6, right? Perfect spot for that sit that they tried to run. Hit him right in the chest and he dropped it. Quay Walker on a country quarters, dropping right down the seam, hits him right in the face. It literally hits him in the face mask and he drops the interception. So when you're saying he has talent now and he doesn't know how to use it, what do you mean? And I'm genuinely asking, what would you like him to do different in those situations? Because there's a lot of people that say, well, that's just 2 plays, Clayton. Okay, let's talk about the 4 contains that were dropped, okay, on read options. You want to talk about those? Because he had the defender in the perfect spot, literally sitting in the perfect spot. Oh, by the way, one of the few times that you actually moved Rashawn Gary to the left side of the line, meaning you're expecting them to run the read option that side. So you put your best defender there, and Gary crashes on the running back. And if you don't believe me, go ask Rasul Douglas. Because when you watch the tape back, guess what you see Rasul do? Rasul literally gets up off the ground after trying to make the tackle, and Gary's on his back, and Rasul is literally doing this to Rashawn Gary, screaming at him. Because he's saying, like, how the heck did you break contact? Like, that was your only responsibility. Joe Barry put them in the perfect spot to stop that read option. But again, thank you so much for the super chat, man. Josh Martin in the chat says, you can't super chat. Thank you so much, Josh. Can't blame Barry when players can't contain the edge or arm tackles. Drop 2 easy picks. I'm telling you, if you intercept one of those balls, you're winning that ball game. I firmly believe that. And I'm sorry, man. It's best to just say, hey, we're going to have to agree to disagree, because I don't know what else you expect from a defensive coordinator other than to game plan and scheme. Now, there are people saying, well, they ran all over us, Clayton. That's on the defensive coordinator. Okay, if we're not missing tackles, I agree. The problem is we might have set a record for broken tackles, you know? And again, is Barry 100% innocent and nothing to blame? Absolutely not. There's enough blame to go around. But to just try to say, well, we got 8 first-rounders, this is on Joe Barry, that is silly. If 2 of your 8 first-rounders basically caught interceptions in the teeth and dropped it. I don't understand how that's on the defensive coordinator. But again, Josh Martin, I agree, man, about the edge. I'm glad I'm not the only one that's watching the tape and seeing that. And of course, the two drop picks. Go ahead, Jake.
Can I elaborate on that? Yeah, I was going to ask. So LaFleur was asked about that in the press conference. They said, well, what do you think about the Bijan Robinson? I think it was like 4th and 3. So Bijan, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, you guys can tell me if I'm crazy, but it sounded like from the press conference that I listened to from my memory that he was originally lined up in the backfield, shifted out in motion almost into like a wide receiver 1. And that caused the defense to absolutely, split. And it looked like we were in man up coverage. And so the big diss on Barry now is that Devondre Campbell, who had to follow him, was 10 yards off. Okay, so right now, if you want to talk about that, there's a reason for that. Matt LaFleur went into it, actually. He said that what they were doing is they were running what's called a stomp/rub route. Basically, what they were doing was doing almost a pick play, so that the linebacker basically didn't even have a chance. If he would have been up on him closer to the line, like you guys talked about, he would have been picked out of the play completely, probably would have went for a bigger yardage. So you have to give and take. You have to understand that this is a chess game here. And
when is there ever a good scenario to press cover with a linebacker on a receiver?
Exactly. And people are like, well, why couldn't you switch an audible? It happens in 2 seconds, guys. You can't just swap.
This isn't Madden. You don't get to push pause.
It's Madden. Yeah, and our shower says it right there. He goes, why would a normal person see we're getting absolutely knelt in the run game defense and not force Ritter to beat us in the air? They did not happen outside of literally 1 series. Well, that's because it's not that easy, because even in a run formation, if you stack the box, they can still kill you over the top. They can still kill you on the outside. They can still do anything. Just because you start running a 46 bear on the Falcons or some crap like that, like it's not going to stop them from absolutely killing them. No. But I'm sorry.
No, and listen, I respect people's opinion.
Yeah, we're here
we can agree to
argue.
disagree, you know.
Yeah.
But again, it's like I asked people on Twitter. They hit me with that. They show the screenshot, and it's funny because you could tell where it originates from because it's the same podcasters that do this every time there's a defensive lapse. And Carly, we're going to go to you in a second. I apologize, but
no worries.
They immediately go to, well, we're just playing soft. We're playing soft. It's okay. X that play out of the equation. Show me where they played soft yesterday. Because what I seen were people missing tackles in the backfield. Or am I the only person that's seen that? I didn't see the running back getting, way down the field without getting contact. You've seen people missing tackles in the backfield. But on top of that, you got a run-heavy team. The name of the game is controlling explosive plays of 20 yards or more. If someone hits an explosive play, it triples your chances of scoring on that drive. So when they come out in a 21 personnel or a 20 or a 12 personnel and they flex Bijan Robinson out, they typically did it in their 21 pistol. You flex Bijan out to the boundary. And it's funny. All we heard last year was we need to play more man coverage. We need to play more man coverage. Well, he comes out and plays man coverage and boom, they flex Bijan out to the boundary and they walk Devondre Campbell out there. And all of a sudden it's, oh, Joe Barry's a moron. He's got Devondre Campbell trying to cover on the boundary. It's like, okay, you wanted man. All right, now we got man. And now he's having to play 8 yards off the ball. I would love to be able to rewind and put Devondre Campbell on the line of scrimmage and just say, press Bijan. And when they hit you for 45 yards over the top for a touchdown, I would love to see people's reaction because I guarantee you the people that are complaining will not be on Twitter going, well, I'm okay with that. They tried. Yep. They'd be going, what are we doing playing press coverage with a linebacker? That's exactly what they'd be saying. So, whew, boy, I tell you what, I didn't think we were going this angle. Let's go back to Cody one more time here. Well, actually,
maybe we should have dropped Devondre Campbell and Savage should have switched, and Devondre should have been the single high safety.
The conversation on Twitter steered in that direction. I was going.
I know.
Come on. Here's
I've
another.
heard everything. I heard
one.
that we should fire Joe Barry and Rich Bisaccia should become the D coordinator. I heard that yesterday.
I've seen that exchange, and I was like,
oh, hilarious.
Here's another thing, too. Someone said, well, that's why you need an extra corner in there. I was like, an extra corner? So they're running the ball down our throat. They go to 21 personnel, and you're saying we should go to nickel?
That doesn't make sense.
What are you like? Again, it's about containment. It's about controlling the explosive plays. And they did. They bled us dry. But it's either that. Now, some people were saying I would rather Ritter have to take a shot over the top. I get it. Theoretically speaking, kind of, bird's eye view, that sounds better, right? A little bit better. But in the moment, when they're running the ball, gashing you, they go to a 21 set. You're thinking, okay, damage control. They've got us here. And here's the other thing, Tim, and I'm going to you, Carly, right now, I promise. At that point, people said, well, they should call a timeout. Joe Barry should have called a timeout. From the box? Joe Barry's now going to call a timeout from the box? Like there's officials? Like what do we – first of all, show me where Joe Barry has called a timeout in the past. It's not like everybody on the sideline has the right to call a timeout. It doesn't work like that. You have someone in Matt LaFleur's ear close to him every single game, helping him stop the clock and catch personnel mismatches, things like that. Hey, look, we got to burn one here, Matt. It's not Joe Barry, the defensive coordinator, who has the right to call the timeout. That's not how it works. Now, if your argument is Matt should have called a timeout, if Coach LaFleur should have called a timeout, I can respect that. You look out there, you see Dre having to play 8 yards off so you don't get burned over the top. Hey, let's burn one here. I get it. But if they'd burned a timeout, what would have happened? Look at us wasting our timeouts. But Carly, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
We're doing good. We're good. And again, it gets a little bit animated. I'm enjoying the conversation. I'm enjoying the questions because these are the things that they were the conversation pieces on Twitter. And again, I don't think we're here to convince each other otherwise. It's just more or less getting your opinion voiced and that type of thing. And I'm just kind of giving you my angle. I would much rather play bend but don't break rather than let's put all the eggs in one basket here. And again, it's if Bijan Robinson gets stopped on that slant somehow, some way, we're not even talking about it. But what's on your mind tonight, Carly?
I just have, I think, 3 quick things, and maybe you've touched on them already, but I got here late. And I like the not argumentative, but the discussion you're having, because that's kind of I just have a question about the defense's side. I heard a lot of people talking about, oh, they were so tired. They weren't making plays because they were so tired because the Falcons offense kept them out there so long, and our offense was going 3 and out, so they never got a rest time, a break. But the Falcons offense was out there just as long, and we weren't saying, oh, look how tired they are. And when our offense puts together runs where they are going, 16, 17 plays, we're not saying giving them leash because of them getting tired. When you need to make the play, you come up with the energy. So how much of that, if they really were tired, would be just lack of conditioning?
Yeah, I mean, it could be. They go ahead, Jay.
Did we see hands on the hips?
Well, I was just going to say,
that's the universal sign, is the hands on the hips,
So
puffing and puffing.
there is a world where two things can be true at the same time. Joe Barry cannot be completely to blame for this defense's shutdown, but there are instances. Goose talks about it, and sorry, Goose, that we didn't bring you up earlier. He says, is tackling the problem? And if so, is that a coaching issue? Because like we talked about, the coaches aren't there to tell pro athletes, this is how you tackle, but it is to be reiterated in practice. And because practice makes perfect, you need to practice these things so that they stay honed. You know what I mean? You can't be an expert tackler and then go a year without doing anything in practice, and then in games expect you to just be this all-star player. So I will admit that there's a balance there. Like if Barry is not letting these guys hit, or if that's a LaFleur thing, or whatever the case is, there is some blame on the coaches somewhere. If these guys aren't educated the right way, if they're not taught the right way, if they don't have the motivation like Carly talked about. But I don't know. I didn't see hands on the hips necessarily. I don't know if you guys saw that, but that is the thing. Did you see that, Tim?
No, I don't. I don't remember seeing it. And, Carly brings up a very valid question. Like, could this possibly be a lack of conditioning kind of thing? And, coming straight out at, we're only a few weeks removed from camp. So you would think, like, after camp and OTA, like, guys would be hitting the season, like, full steam ahead here. I don't think it's necessarily that they were tired. I think it's demoralizing at times when you have to go back out on that field so quickly. And it has nothing to do with the physical side. I think it's your football spirit and your football mentals get kind of, they get kind of bogged down, because it's not necessarily just the physical rest. It's the mental aspect of having to go right back out on that field after a 3 and out, and maybe do that more than once or twice in a row at times. That can really kind of, I don't know. I don't even know what the word is. Fluster. It can fluster a defense, maybe, kind of throw off that rhythm. I don't know, Clayton, maybe you could speak to that. I don't know if I'm even onto something here or not, but I don't think it's necessarily conditioning.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it is either. It's it like you said, it's demoralizing. I mean, they were just gashing them. Matt LaFleur said it over and over and over. I'm going to show you something real quick, and then Carly, we'll get to your next comment here. This is a good example. I want you guys to explain to me, and Cody, you guys in the chat here, whether you think this was Joe Barry's fault. I want you to watch this play. Can you guys see the screen?
Yeah, we got it.
All right. I want you to watch Jair Alexander here. Okay. All right. Right down here is Bijan Robinson. Okay. He's got the ball. You see these guys are trying to set the edge. First of all, kudos to Savage right here. Watch Savage try to attack Drake London. Bang. He's fighting. He's fighting his rear end off to try to get over here and fill this gap and stop Bijan. Watch right here. Watch Jair Alexander. For those of you who think it's unfair that he got a 55.0 PFF grade, watch him on this play. Watch him. Look.
Okay, so what do we see? That's over pursuit, and then he loses the ball carrier. He can't locate the ball carrier.
And he does not want any
lack of effort
of that action.
Yeah, I see lack of effort.
I think it looks like that, Jacob. But to me, what I see is him over pursuing, and then he's out of position, and now I can't see. Where did he go? That's what I see. I can't see the ball carrier now because I'm out of position because I over pursued. I don't know if it was lack of effort. I think it's just heads not in the game at that moment, maybe, or misdiagnosis.
Yeah, it's funny. Jacob thinks it's lack of effort. Tim thinks he's over pursuing, and I think he's scared to death.
Hell of a show tonight, boys.
Back in the day,
he is the shortest kid there, isn't he?
Yeah. There you go. And it's funny. It reminds me of coming back into the house after an argument and having to take the trash down to the curb and not wanting to face Mandy. I'm walking in the house like that. I ain't want no part of it. Get away from her.
Andy's the best. Don't.
I'm with you, Clayton. That's disheartening to see, like, I don't know, like $80 or $90 million worth of talent on the field in that clip, and that's what happens. But
yeah, definitely. Carly Ray, what else you got?
I don't know if you guys saw it, but the one thing I saw that did make me a little bit nervous about Joe Barry is that there was a moment where the cameras cut up to him in the booth, and he had just called a play down, and then he was wringing his hands, like he was manipulating his hands back and forth over and over. And I saw that, and I was like, oh, he is not comfortable with what he is doing right now.
That was kind of funny. I saw that. I really did. I remember seeing it.
Sure. We need to turn that into a GIF or something, right? A meme. We need to have it for a meme. Yeah, no, dude, nothing went right on defense. Like that first half, I mean, it wasn't horrible, but when you got into the second half and one dropped interception, a second dropped in, it was just like all the missed tackles. I don't know, man. I would have lost my mind. I would have lost my ever loving mind.
But Clayton, I think if you guys find it, and I can look back for it too, I believe that happened before they were actually in trouble. I think they had just called a few really great plays that had kind of contained Bijan, and then they went after another one of the guys on their offense, and they ended up taking him out of the game. And so I think they were doing well at that moment, and so that's what made me nervous.
Got it. Our Showers in the chat said that hand thing looked crackish. Okay, sorry, I gotta hit you with it right here. Here we go. Where's it at?
Gentlemen, which brings me to my next point. Don't smoke crack.
There you go, Cody. There is your public service announcement. You got anything else, Carly?
My last question, and you guys may have already talked about it. Did we ever figure out what happened with the delay of game for that field goal?
You know what's hilarious? Matt LaFleur was asked that, Matt LaFleur brought that up in the press conference. He goes, I'm surprised that you guys haven't asked me about the delay of game. And literally everybody was like, oh. And they did not address that. He didn't actually address it either. He just said
he didn't call a timeout.
He didn't call a timeout, and the play just kind of was lazy, and that they just were lackadaisical. And that's another Go ahead, Tim.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off, Jacob. Go ahead.
I was just going to say they said it's a learning moment. So that was it.
Yeah, I thought the real question that should have been asked was why is 56 yards in a dome too long when Anders hit a 57-yarder outside in the preseason? That's my question.
Somebody actually messaged me. Keep talking. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but someone messaged me about that very thing, and they said that he was coming up short pregame.
Really?
Yeah, I'm going to see if I can find it because that really caught my eye.
There we go. See, now we have more information. So now I feel like a jerk for asking that question.
This came from 1265 Lombardi Avenue, not Lambeau, but someone on Twitter. He messaged me, and he was there in-house. He gave me like 12 things he noticed sitting right behind the bench. He sent me an awesome camera shot. Like he had really good seats. Awesome. He said Carlson was also showing he was coming up pretty short during warmups. It was obviously short a couple of times, maybe something there, and why Matt LaFleur opted out of the first long field goal, not sure. That's one thing that the coaches do pregame is they watch the kickers and they get their distance set up for that stadium that day. You know, every day's a little bit different, right? And they kind of look at, okay, here's our long, here's where we feel really good, right, about the distance. So that caught my eye a little bit. And again, he sent it after the game, but I trust his judgment there. He seemed like from the pointers he posted, he was very, very aware of what was going on. But that may have had something to do with it, though. So
keep an eye on that left knee, on that plant leg. If he's losing, maybe I don't know. That's the only thing I could think of.
Very good point. Very good point. Carly, you got anything else for us?
No, I just hope that the delay of game, I mean, Matt's, it's his 5th season now coaching the Packers, so I really hope it's not a learning moment for him. I hope he just fixes it.
Yeah. No, as fans, that's what we want, right? I don't care who's to blame, to be honest with you. That's what's funny is it's Clayton's just a Joe Barry defender. No, if it's Joe Barry's fault, fire him, get him out of here and fix it. But again, it was Dom Capers' fault. It was Mike Pettine's fault. Now it's Joe Barry's fault. And I'm sitting here looking at maybe we need to kind of reassess the way we draft in the first round, where we're focused on athletic score as opposed to people with high football knowledge, right? And I'm not suggesting that these guys aren't smart football players. I'm just simply saying when you put a priority on that as a first rounder, maybe that's playing into it. I don't know. Go ahead, Jake.
Wasn't that something crazy? Like the last 20 out of 24 first-round picks have been on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, it's somewhere around that. I mean, that to me,
and,
like
and all of them had RAS scores of over 9.1.
Over 9. Yeah, exactly. And it's like maybe you hear that quote. What do you always say? We're not. We're building a team. We're not collecting talent, or something like that. Isn't that what you say, Clayton? It's like maybe we should start. We look at a guy like Puka Nacua. Puka Nacua went almost undrafted because his RAS was absolutely booty. And then all of a sudden, this guy shows up and he looks like Devontae Adams out of the gate. We got to start.
Because the rule is right there in the term, right? Relative. It's all relative. We,
I'm going to find the clip because pre-draft, I was breaking down wide receivers because I felt like that was a need for us. And of course, we go out and draft 2, actually, 3 or 4. But that Puka Nacua, I came across him. I said, there's a name to remember, guys. PFF grade through the roof. This dude looks like he's going to be a stud, sunk in the draft because of RAS, because of, the athletic profile. Now he's out there looking like the perfect complementary target to the LA Rams that seem to have caught people off guard this year. So just a smart football player, good hands, good. He's kind of that Adam Thielen type where he doesn't pop off the screen, but he's always going to be in the right place. He's always going to play hard. He's always going to have he doesn't do anything great, but he doesn't do anything bad. He's just steady Eddie. So Carly Ray, we appreciate you calling in for sure.
Yeah, you guys have a good one. Thanks so much.
You too. Thanks.
Thanks, Carly.
And that was Carly Ray. All right, let's get back to these super chats real quick, man. This show has flew by. Goodness gracious. Josh, I'm sorry, Josh. We're going to come back to you. There was another one up here I missed. Okay, here we go. Cody Newberg said, I wish I could expand, LOL, but there were 0, in all caps, adjustments made out of the soft 2 shell. Those picks, both subsequent drives, resulted in touchdowns. I disagree with you again, Cody. I'm going to show you a graphic on the screen here. This was the first interception, right? Or this was the only interception right here. I'm going to drop your super chat down for just a second. And again, thank you for the super chat. But this was the pressure by Kenny Clark. Notice there are not 2 safeties. There's no 2 safeties on the shelf. We were playing single high in this look, right? And we played single high a good chunk of the day. Now, again, people that hate Joe Barry will find the handful of plays that show 2 on the shelf. Notice it's always the all 22 and it's never showing down distance situation. That's why when we do Chalk Talk, we walk it in order through these are the most important plays at the most crucial points rather than cherry picking one play. I'm not suggesting you're doing that, Cody. I'm saying that's what a lot of people do online. They'll cherry pick a play and say, this one right here. See, look, told you they're playing soft. Now, notice this. People will see the corner on the X there and say, why is he playing so soft? Okay, so you're just going to disregard the slot? Look how tight the corner's playing on the slot there, right?
But if you're single high safety, you got to play a little soft when you're on the boundary, right? I mean, you got no help back there.
And what you were playing here, and they flexed the T out, which was Bijan. They flexed him out, then brung him back in, and then sent him back in the flat. They were gathering information, zoner man, zoner man, zoner man. They were playing zone on this play to the best of my knowledge. It was a cover 3 zone match is what they were playing. And again, Kenny Clark pressuring the 3 technique, forced the errant throw. And that's the one that Rasul Douglas right over here on the left side. I don't know if you guys can see my cursor, probably not. On the far left, that corner was Rasul, jetted over in front of that choice route and picked the ball off. So again, I'm not saying they didn't play 2 high shell. I know they played 2 high shell. I've seen it from time to time. But again, and I'm not saying you're doing this, Cody, but a lot of people are just assuming all they're doing is playing 2 high soft. BS. You mix and match, you make adjustments as the game goes on. And the way I look at that, man, I mean, honestly, the way I look at it is real simple. When you look at how the defense performed yesterday, they were bend but don't break, bend but don't break. They bent all day long. You never seen them break for the huge play. They bled you to death, and all we needed was one of those interceptions picked, or maybe even just the first down. That's the other thing that drives me crazy is they are not mentioning that, if I understood correctly, we gained 14 yards on offense in the 4th quarter.
Right. Nobody's calling for LaFleur to be fired.
Exactly.
And nor are we, right?
Yeah, no,
Like,
nor should we be.
how the heck are you trying to fire coaches when you lose by 1 point on the road without your starting left tackle, your starting left guard, your starting number 1 wide receiver? How is that even a thing? Like, it just blows my mind, man.
Real quick,
Blows
too.
me.
Also, Jake Shavenk of who I love, who I think is just awesome. Also, he says too high shell quarters doesn't always mean that there aren't good run fits in place, and that's true.
That is a great point.
And
Absolutely great point.
And Jake will attest to this. Here's the key to that type of defense. Josh, I'm going to get to your super chat, buddy. Here's the key to that. The safeties have to be able to play top down in the run fit.
Yep.
It just so happens that our safeties have sucked the last 2 years. Okay. I'm just being real. Like, they are not great tacklers. So when your safeties can't make tackles. Now, if the argument is, well, your safeties suck, you need to adjust the scheme, touche. That maybe there is an adjustment that needs to be made there. Not in the middle of the game.
Or just an adjustment to what you're calling from your scheme. Maybe it's just the play call adjustment, not a whole overhaul of the scheme. Maybe we just call the games a little different.
Right. Yeah. And that's the thing. Again, I now I've got in my head, I haven't even seen it, but I've got in my head Joe Barry going.
You know what I thought when I saw that? I thought he was thinking of, having him some ribs and maybe some chicken wings and maybe some of those cornbread muffins. I think he was kind of just licking his chops a little bit in that shot.
Which reminds me, I want to give a special shout out to our sponsors, Old Southern Barbecue Smokehouse. They've got 5 locations for you guys and gals in Rice Lake, Hudson, Arden Hills, Minneapolis, and Shakopee. It was absolutely awesome seeing people tweet out pictures and send us pictures in going, hey, I got a chance to drop by. Hey, I actually had them cater for me. That's right. They do catering. So if you plan on staying at home for the ball game and you're near any of these areas, give them a call. Google the number, give them a buzz and say, hey, what would you charge to cater for 15, to cater for 10, whatever it is. They'll take care of all that for you. Awesome ribs, awesome brisket. Like Tim mentioned, the cornbread muffins, they say, are out of this world, multiple sides, all that good stuff. Now, if you're at a distance, right, and you love cooking at home, you love running the smoker, you love grilling meats, make sure you check out their website, oldsouthernbbq.com. That's where you can find their barbecue sauces. They've got 4 different flavors. They've also got some awesome rubs. They've got some really sweet bundle packages. I'm telling you right now, for the stuff that's in those bundles and the price that you get it before our promo code discount, even, you can't get in the store for that price unless you're buying the cheap stuff, unless you're going value time, baby, unless you're one of those ultimate cheap brands. But they do a phenomenal job. Again, if you go to their website, oldsouthernbbq.com, type in the promo code PackerNet15. That's capital P, Packer, capital N, net, 15, no spaces, and that'll get you 15% off of your order. Again, that's Old Southern Barbecue Smokehouse, oldsouthernbbq.com. Appreciate them sponsoring the show. All right, let's make sure we didn't miss anything. I think we had Josh Martin had a super chat. Here we go. Easy fix is the players play within the scheme and make the plays. Coaches can call great plays. Won't matter if the players don't make the plays. If there have been people out of position, if Desmond Ridder converts that first down pass over the middle, right, and there's nobody in there, you would be hearing me say there's a scheme problem. There's no way that guy should be open going across the middle right there. I'd be the first to say it. You have multiple bodies in there and dropping interceptions. I think you're spot on, Josh. And it doesn't apply to every situation, right? It doesn't apply to every situation, just that one specifically, in my opinion. So, all right, let's get to the next topic here real quick. We're kind of falling behind on that. We hit on that. I'm going to briefly cover special teams, okay? Special teams grade. I seen this on tape outside of the personal foul. If he hadn't got the face mask call, he's probably in the mid to upper 70s. But Jonathan Owens is arguably our best special teams player this year. You're seeing it week in and week out now. He had a 68.7 on special teams. Look at number 2, Carrington Valentine. I won't go any further other than long snapper Matt Orzik, 55.5. That's what we refer to as cheeks. That is cheeks. So long snapper, a little bit shaky. You heard us talk on the postgame show about the high snap that got handled by Daniel Whelan, right? Which I'm telling you right now, that boy can boom the football.
That guy can boom, dude.
Yeah, and he's a great holder. It seems like they found him one. I'm excited about having him on the team in the future. But yeah, as far as special teams, that's kind of what stood out to me there. Let's do this. Jacob, we had a little bit of I guess a conspiracy, right? There's been a lot of talk about David Bakhtiari, and Matt LaFleur got asked about it today. But this kind of prompted, why don't we start a new segment here? Why don't we kind of deep dive into some of these? You ever hear stuff on Twitter when it comes to the Packers? You go, is that true? Did that really happen? Mm-hmm. We're going to have a segment added in where we hit those tough topics, and this is where we're going to get into it right here. We're going to call it. That's right. It's Jacob's Conspiracy Corner. All right. I'm excited about these. We may not do it every episode, but when the time arises, we're going to do it. All right. Jacob, would you like me to play the soundbite from Coach LaFleur to kick this thing off?
I would, Clayton.
All right. So here was Coach LaFleur today when he was asked, do you think Bakhtiari missed that game in protest is essentially what they were asking because of the turf? It's going to be a little bit low because the Packers media team sucks. I'll say it again. And they don't know how to – well, you can hear the music just fine, but you can't hear a damn thing they're saying. But here we go. Here was Coach LaFleur.
I'm sure this would be easier on you if Dave would have just talked to us and explained it after the game. But did he not play because it was a turf game or because he had a issue that popped up last week?
Well, his knee is injured and there's swelling, so.
If that game's played at Lambeau Field, is he able to play or not?
I don't believe so.
Just to clarify, is this a...
I'm not talking, all right, that's it. Just to clarify, I'm done talking about it.
About the knee, like, was this...
I'm not talking about it.
With the Elton injury that just surfaced,
All right, there you got it.
You sure about that? You sure about that?
Jacob, take it away. Give us some background here. What is going on with David Bakhtiari, man? What do you think is actually happening here? And well, let me do this real quick. R Showers in the chat said, "Hey now," let me find it here. He said, "Hey now, Alex Jones is right well over 65% of the time." Listen, I got first of all, let me hit it for you.
65%.
65%. I've got to say, R Showers, the guy is outrageous. The way he is animated, and some of the stuff he said, I'm like, this man is not sane. I'll be damned if some of that stuff hasn't come true. I'll just leave it at that. All right, Jacob, go ahead, sir.
Here's what I'll say. I think that honestly, my conspiracy theory has almost about a 65%, over 50% to be true. And I'm just leaning. I'm just looking at you. Did you guys look at Matt LaFleur's body? Like his gestures. If you ever watched somebody who, when they look at them, his eyes were darting back and forth. He did not want to answer that question. And I will say that it would have only cost the NFL $12 million to convert every single one of their turf fields to grass fields. They do the same thing when they have a soccer team fly overseas. Why would they not do it? And Elton Jenkins is supposedly on track of saying that he messed his knee up or whatever he did because of the turf. So I'm just saying, I'm not saying, I'm just saying. Also, if you guys really want me to get a little crazy here, Matt LaFleur's name in French means the flower. What's the state flower of Wisconsin? The wood violet. What's also violet? Purple. Matt LaFleur is a Viking plant. I'm telling you the truth.
He sounded like Alex Jones. Oh my God. Oh. That, my
Jacob's
friend,
Conspiracy Corner.
There you go.
Thank you,
Tim, please help me here, man.
Okay, I got a conspiracy theory.
Oh God, I was hoping we get back.
Run the playback right before Big E left the game, and you can see AJ Dillon falling on his knee. as he's rumbling and stumbling. That's at least that's what I saw. That doesn't mean, like Jacob said, both things can be true. Maybe he still got hung
rumbled
up.
and stumbled.
There could be truth. Maybe he got hung up in that fake carpeting of a field also. But to me, I don't know. It looked like AJ kind of clipped him in the knee inadvertently as he was stumbling forward. So.
Yeah. Goose says the Packers media team is unwashed cheeks.
Goose. Goose's comments are so like lethal.
Nick the Realtor has a special request here. He says, "You're not going to call it? Are you sure about that?"
You sure about that? You sure about that?
My knee.
Yeah. And Showers in the chat says, "Oh, he looked pissed to have been put in that position to answer for that BS from Bach." Now, here's the thing. Here's where it gets kind of crazy, right? I said I wasn't going to do this, Jacob, but I'm going to do it. All right, I'm going to try to talk some logic here. David Bakhtiari's brother put a tweet out and put F around and find out. Now, it was a quote tweet talking about the major injuries. Immediately people said, and in the comments, everybody was like, "What does this mean? It's been 8 hours. You need to tell us what you mean by this," thinking he's protesting, right? And what he was referring to, in my opinion, I could be wrong, but I feel like he was referring to, hey, look, all these injuries of these big name players continue to happen because you won't change turf to grass, F around and find out. That's what I took it as. But hey, I'll tell you this, we'll know in 3 weeks if he plays on turf or not, right? Because we're at Lambeau this week. We're at Lambeau the next 2 weeks. Then we go to Vegas that's on grass. So it would actually be the 4th week. Where are we at 4 weeks from now after Vegas?
We got our bye week. And then, it'd be the Broncos. I believe it's grass, right?
That's grass also.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. Here's my thought. Either way, it sucks. Whether he's not playing because it was turf, sucks because he's not on the field. Whether he's not playing because his knee is swollen again, also equally sucks, and he's not on the field. So both things can be true.
They all suck.
and they all suck. Yeah.
Jake Shavink in the chat says it's J.C. Latham season. Yes,
he's
sir.
run out in that guy. He wants that dude. That's
I love it. Guy, you notice it's multiple players too. No matter what the topic is, Jake Shavink has a player from it's always draft season podcast. And he goes, "Hey, look, guys, might want to look at this one right here coming up this April." I'm just saying.
That's why Jake loves the Pack, man, because the Packers fix issues via the draft, right?
Exactly. Lee 86 says won't have turf until week 12, I think. Now think about that. With that being said, and if Bach is nervous about playing on turf, kind of makes sense for him not to play in Detroit. Now, there's people going, "I don't care. He needs to be playing, blah, 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 blah." Guess what Elton Jenkins said today? That the MCL sprain, his foot got stuck in the turf. Now, people were going, what does that mean? People have been playing on turf forever. Guys, this new grass turf, the heavier the player, their cleats get stuck in the backing of the turf. It's proven fact. That's why Bach is so animated about it, is because the statistics show that there are more knee injuries on turf than there are anywhere than grass. Now, immediately people go, well, look at the Detroit Lions player that tore his ACL on grass the other day. We're not saying it can't happen on grass. They're simply saying
more on turf.
Yeah. Exactly. And Josh Martin says Vegas is turf. I would love to get an answer to this because someone yesterday, Josh, the reason we said it was grass, someone in the chat said that Vegas is actually grass that they have indoors. But I would like to get a confirmation on that. We need a confirmation
on that new stadium. I would really.
What is that? What is it? Allegiant? What is the name of their stadium?
It looks like the Devil's Lair is what it looks like, though.
Yeah, I mean, or I don't know, NRG Stadium? No, not NRG Stadium. That's somewhere else. I can't think of the name of the venue, but I'm wondering if they do something similar to Arizona, where it's brought in and out.
There you go.
It's brought in and out.
That's what Carly Ray's saying. She says Vegas is grass. They roll it out during the week, so it's just like Arizona, right? But they do that. So
Carly's always on top of it.
Oh yeah,
got it.
No doubt. Our listeners add intelligence to this show. I promise.
Yep.
We're just here going through the motions. Let's do this. Tim, you actually mentioned in our private chat about an article that Rashawn Gary was mentioned in. Do you care to hit on that a little bit?
Yeah, we can do that. This is Sean Devaney, heavy.com/sports. Real brief article, just kind of talking about, let's see, the headline is Packers veteran Rashawn Gary has stern message for rookies after tough loss. I'll go right down to the quote here. The message for the young guys this week is to watch how the vets work and watch how we attack this week. Rookies are going to find out, Gary said in a post-game locker room on Sunday. And then they also asked him about, let's see, Gary was hardly panicking over faulty execution that cost the Packers time and time again in Atlanta. Quote, "What week is this?" Rashawn asked. "Week 2. We got so much football left to be played. At the end of the day, we have to be critical of ourselves in all 3 phases and come back next week at home and show out. That's it. Put it together. What we know, play good. That's it." So what I gather basically from, this is kind of a semi-clickbaity headline here, stern message for the rookies. Basically what Rashawn's saying is, I'm going to lead by example. Devondre is going to lead by example. Preston Smith's going to lead by example. The veterans on this team and on this defense are going to lead by example. You youngsters need to pay attention. That's what I'm gathering from all of this. And this is not absolving himself of any blame when it comes to his own execution. So I think this is Rashawn's message to the team saying, hey, I'm the first one to admit that I messed up. The rest of us need to do that too. And we have to change our approach because, hey, tomorrow's Tuesday already. And, the Saints are marching in and we got to get ready for another game. So I just think that speaks highly of him as a leader. And again, with our concerns on the defensive end, defensive end of the ball, it really, I personally believe it starts on the field. Some people believe it starts in the booth. It starts with the coaches. Man, you've seen time and time again, teams that really do have terrible coaches that still find a way to win games because these players unite and refuse to lose ball games, period. So I think it starts with the players, and seeing Rashawn step up like this is not surprising, but I believe it's right on time and gives these guys some clarity here as we get ready for the Saints.
Yeah, and Clint Green in the chat says, love it. I completely agree, Clint. You need people to step up like that. And what I love is you could tell Gary's not going, y'all need to play better. He's going, we need to play better. It starts with me. He was one that underperformed yesterday too, right? Like I said, he broke contain a couple times, but I love that someone's stepping up. Something else Ryan mentioned, first of all, Josh Martin in the chat said, it's turf for UNLV games, my mix-up. No worries, Josh. Appreciate you digging into that for us, buddy.
Well, that's interesting.
So, very interesting.
Now what are we supposed to think? By the way, shout out to Clint Green too, my buddy. He was we hung out a few times at camp over the summer.
Awesome.
He photobombed my picture with Quay Walker this year, so that's how we met. So I'm glad Clint's tuned in, man.
That's cool.
No doubt. So yeah, something that Ryan mentioned on his podcast was that it was being reported that in the locker room after the game, the positions were huddled up and they were kind of, taking everything, kind of taking it upon themselves to kind of get this thing right. Like it just seemed like there was more accountability. Jacob, did you listen to that on Ryan's podcast this morning where he talked about that? Do you remember hearing that?
I did. Yeah. And I agree with it. And, sorry. Oh no, sorry. I'm just looking at Jake Shank just said that the Chubb just got carted off. That's not great.
Did he really?
Sorry about that. I did listen to that, and Ryan brought up a lot of great points. If you guys haven't listened to that podcast, there's some good stuff in there. And what's really cool is that if you look at like with Shavank, Ryan, JJ, myself, Clayton, one thing that we talk about on this podcast and this network is that we don't always agree on anything and everything. And most of the times we actually, if you listen to the different podcasts, you're going to get different perspectives on stuff. So I just think that that's, if we were all saying the same thing, I wouldn't listen to us, you guys. I mean, to be honest, that means that we're talking. It's like whatever. We won't get into it, but it's like if there's a script, then you should be wary of what the script is and who's writing it. And if you have guys that are kind of going off the cuff and having their actual opinions, I mean, you look at what we got in the chat, like Clayton says. I mean, Carly Ray, holy Lord, she's got a lot of information. I wish I never gave her that book recommendation. That was, but I'm playing her in fantasy football. You look at guys like even with Goose and obviously with Tim. And so anyways, I don't mean to veer off track there. I just, it's cool. It's cool listening because Ryan does Ryan does do a different perspective on a lot of things, especially what did we talk about, Clayton? Where definitely the Joe Barry thing, I think we have a difference of opinion on. It seemed like
no doubt.
today Ryan was more of the fact of like, you gotta the buck stops here kind of thing. But anyways,
which we alluded to, both can be true.
Exactly.
Guys can play like booty cheeks, and our coordinator can have issues at the same time. And let's hope it's not both. But I mean, even if it is or it isn't, I mean, there's issues, and this goes back to the comments I had last night when we were kind of talking about the offense, but really in general, it's like, will we see changes made? Will we see changes in personnel? Will we see changes in rotation? We talked about rotating in more. I didn't see a lot of that. Are we going to see a change in play call situationally? We're not going to scrap and throw away the entire defensive playbook, but maybe we can dig deeper into it. Maybe we keep it more vanilla when we need to. But like you said, Clayton, I don't think we were doing anything super complex out there yesterday. I didn't see many twists, stunts, things like that. But I guess my point is that, both can be true. Neither are problems we want. Both should be corrected. What are the steps necessary to do this? Is it some of the things I mentioned? Is it a little bit all of the things I mentioned? That's where my head goes when it comes to this whole thing.
Yeah, no doubt. And there's enough blame to go around, and like Ryan was saying earlier, and I don't want to speak out of turn here. Jacob, you correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like Ryan last year wasn't on the fire Joe Barry train. This year he seems to be a little more on the, hey, look, something's got to change, right?
In addition to that, though, he acknowledges what he said. He's like, and this is going to start another perpetual motion to where you get a first guy, you say it's his first year, we got to give him time, and then we have Booty. And then the second year, well, it's the guys, they got to get into that second year groove. Now they're finally learning the defense, they're learning the scheme. And then you go into the third year, it's time to fire them. And then boom, rinse and repeat. And now here we are. We've had, like you talked about, Dom Capers, freaking Mike Pettin, every guy in between. It's just, we need to at some point say, these guys need to play ball. Like if these people would not be in the position they are if they weren't talented enough to be in the NFL. I don't believe that's a thing. There's maybe your guys like your your Luke Getsy's or guys that maybe have been gifted positions because of who they know, not what they know. But all in all, I would have to imagine that the bulk of the people have at least cut their teeth knowing what they're talking about. So,
right. Yeah. And again, when I watch the tape, I don't see a flawed scheme. I just don't see it. I don't. When I turn on the tape, I see players in position to make the plays, and they're not making the plays. Now, that's when you get into, is Joe Barry a good coach, right? Is he coaching the guys up to make those plays? That can be a separate thing too, right? Again, though, if you're the highest paid cornerback in the league and you drop an interception or refuse to tackle on a running back on the edge, I'm sorry, I'm not putting that on the DC. I'm not saying what is Joe Barry needs to do better. Joe Barry needs to basically motivate Jair Alexander to want to tackle against the run or to pick that pass off. Jacob, I'm assuming that you've seen the injury.
Oh my Lord, don't look at it. It's not good. It is not good. That is some Joe Namath type stuff.
Knee,
right there.
ankle, or what?
Knee.
Oh God.
Other way.
That sucks. And just for the record, they're in Pittsburgh. I believe that's grass, right? Is that grass?
I think so, yeah. Oh, man, that makes me woozy. Oh, man.
Yeah. Watch it again, Jake.
No, please. There's going to be a new segment. Jacob throws up.
That sucks, man. That sucks. You hate to hear about that. That's the sport, man. That is the sport.
They get paid millions of dollars, guys, because they're literally putting their lives on the lines.
Absolutely. And people go, they get paid too much money. Okay.
Yeah. Go out there. Yeah.
You strap on a helmet and run between those tackles. I know I'm not interested in it. I'm just being honest.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, let's get ready to wrap this thing up. We got some parting thoughts here. Tim, what do you got before we go, bub?
I guess I'll touch on, I don't know if you got our Showers comment last that he put up there about Rashawn not trusting the knee.
There you go. Yeah.
There we go.
He said, our shower said, did Gary look tentative to anyone else?
A little bit, yeah.
He said,
Yeah,
I am worried that he doesn't trust that knee. Go ahead, Tim.
And I agree. I'm not worried though. I think it's part of this. I think any one of us in our daily lives, if we had that type of injury and a surgery, that the months following, it's a lot of time trying to get used to how that feels. Just walking, let alone running, cutting, tackling, smacking into guys. So I'm not worried, but I would definitely agree that I don't think he fully trusts it yet. You could really see that on some of those plays too. Like when he was in pursuit, he just didn't quite look like the Rashaan that we're used to seeing, kind of losing his footing, turning and cutting. I think it's going to come with time and snaps as they build up and maybe, give him a little bit more freedom. But I definitely think that is a true observation. I would agree. I mean, not worried at all. I don't think he's on the backslide. I don't think he's had a setback. I just think that this is part of Rashaan's process here to getting back to being 100%. Like you guys talked about that earlier, this isn't, Pop Warner. We talk about missing tackles and missing plays or, giving up contain on the edge when it's your assignment. I mean, this is like his first action in a while. He didn't see any snaps during the preseason. He didn't have any, Chicago was the training wheels game and that's over with. And now the season rolls on. So I think, we're all going to keep an eye on Rashaan, but I think we should kind of calm down our worries a little bit. The guy is a rehab monster. He takes his workouts seriously, probably the most serious of anybody on that team. So that's certainly a guy who's not going to slack. So let's just keep an eye on him and pray for the best with Rashaan.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's going to take a little time to get back to 100%. Didn't have a good game. Not going to deny that. But I think there may be a little something to that, Showers, for sure. Yep. I just seen the injury by accident, and you were right, Jacob.
It's bad.
About threw up my Noki on my shoes.
Oh no!
Ooh, it was bad. It was real bad.
Noki.
Yeah.
The G starts with a G.
Gotcha. All right.
Can I?
Anything else, Jacob? What you got?
I was just gonna say, per that note right there, Casey Ullman brings up a good point. Taylor to the Browns, as in Jonathan Taylor, that now looking very possible. I was also gonna say Kareem Hunt gets a weird signing to the Browns, but they have a backup named Jerome Ford, who's pretty darn good. So the other thing I was gonna comment on, where was I looking at? Yeah, Musgraves. Casey's talking about how Musgraves is gonna have a lot of huge games. I really do think that is going to be it. And also, our Shower saying that he thinks that. He just wants Gary to be okay. I really do. He's the heart and soul of this. The last thing I'll say real quick, if you guys remember that late in the game, there was that, I don't remember what exactly the route you'd call it. LaFleur called it a circus route where Romeo, he claims it wasn't an overthrow by Love. He said that Romeo cut that route off, that he undercut the route, and that Love actually placed the ball perfectly. So if you guys want to start saying, any sort of thing about Love can't compete in the back end of the game, it sounded like that it was a Dobbs thing where he cut that route. Do you know what a circus route is off the top of your head? He threw that out there like as if it was common knowledge. But he said a circus route to Romeo.
I would have to see it. If you could find a timestamp of the play around when it was
tomorrow.
And it may be, I've got a Chalk Talk keyed up, so it may be in that.
Yeah. Okay. That was it though.
I've never heard the term circus route. Now there's a circle route, but I'm sure there is a circus concept. There's so much stuff now, man, and everybody uses such different terminology and everything. I had somebody come at me the other day and say that's a rail route that wasn't a wheel route, and I'm going, what's the difference between a rail and a wheel? They couldn't tell me. I know the answer, but I asked just to see if they knew. I'm like, it's a wheel route, right? Yeah. With a rail route, you've got 2 points you can throw it. What I said was I called it a flat. I called it a diagonal 6 route combination, which is exactly what a flat and a deep dig is. There's your diagonal 6. And then he wheeled it off. Okay. So you wanted me to say rail. Got it, Chief. Appreciate you. Like, unbelievable, man. It's like, can we not just watch football, talk about it, and have a good time? I don't understand. I do not understand. Carly Ray said, for those interested in the Nick Chubb injury, it looks like his lower leg was hit with lateral force and either snapped his tibia or his fibula. Who said Nick Chubb's knee literally imploded. And Jake Shavink immediately changes the subject and goes, hey, Cam Akers to Cleveland.
Wow. So not Mason Crosby.
So, Carly Ray says, Clayton, he couldn't answer because in your awesome accent, both words sounded the same. Probably some truth to that.
Oh, that's funny.
There's some truth to that. All right, and then Goose explains the route here. He says circus route involves an elephant. Never mind. Why did I
can't read that?
God almighty.
This is such a nice man, and then all of a sudden he throws out these zingers, bro.
I know it, man. I know it. We were on a roll too, man. We were rolling smooth, and I the one time I trust Goose to throw the chat up there. Oh, God almighty.
Oh, no.
We got a new member.
We suck again.
There you go. Yeah, we do have a new member. Look at that. All right. Newest member of the YouTube PTA Posse, Mark.
Good luck with this one.
What's that last name?
Crumptitch. Crumptitch. Mark, welcome.
This is where I would say Mark
Mark K
to the PTA Posse. We've got another member too that I wanted to give a shout out to, Mr. Don Welsh, newest member of the YouTube member, the PTA Posse. Appreciate you guys joining the group. And Mark, you'll be entered into giveaways this year. So yeah, appreciate you. With that last name, I know we butchered it, and we don't mean any disrespect, but people screw with live streamers so much. I'm waiting to go, oh, that's what he meant by that. You know what I mean? It's one of those Seymour Butts or something like that, right? But yeah. So here we go. Jake Shavink looked up circus route and got 2 different ones on video. Welcome. There you go. That is diagnosing today's game of football 101 right there. It just cracks me up, man. I just can't stand when people try to sound smart. It's like, and they try to dunk on people. Well, no, actually, shut up. Shut up. You're miserable. Say you're miserable and move on. Okay. Just that simple. So, all right. What is this right here? Ryan says, and Joe Barry ribs a circus defense.
Runs, I would guess.
Runs a circus defense. Yeah, Ryan. Hey, all right, buddy. We're out of here. We're done. Cutting everybody off. And I'm gonna hit y'all with this one more time here.
Stay off the damn weed.
All right. Guys, I want to thank y'all for hanging out with me. We went way over, but this was fun, man. This was fun. We got our very first Jacobs Conspiracy Corner. Love it. We'll have more of that coming in the near future. I want to give a shout out to everybody in the chat. Thank y'all. Damn it, Goose. Amanda kiss and hug. There it is.
A classic.
Yeah, absolutely. So Tim, Jacob, thank y'all for your time. Everybody in the chat, thank you so much. I want to give a special shout out to all of the super chats for sure. Cody Newberg, we got Josh Martin, and obviously the newest member, Mark, and then the other member that was earlier today, Don Welsh. Thank you guys for supporting the stream. It was fun chatting with y'all. And yeah, prayers for Nick Chubb, man. He seems like just an awesome football player that likes to he's going to play the game the right way, you know. And
well said, Clayton. Remember these guys are people first, football players second. So
absolutely.
You don't want to see anybody. That's an on-the-job injury at the end of the day. That's what that is, and it can happen to any one of us out there. So definitely say your prayers for Nick Chubb, because that sound, I didn't see it, and I'm not going to watch it, at least not voluntarily. But that sounds like a career ender. So let's positive vibes for him.
Jacob, it's an injury. It's not funny. I know what you're laughing at.
I'm not laughing. I'm laughing at
I go to click on Nick the Realtor's thanks guys comment, and as soon as I go to click on it, it refreshes and Goose typed in another name, and it flashes up on the screen trying to get me canceled over here.
Oh man.
Gosh, Carly in here trying to add some intelligence back into the show. Chubbs, I immediately thought of from him with that hand going.
Alligator took my hand off.
He said, "Bastard took my hand, but not before I took his eye."
Made of wood, real sturdy.
Ooh, Carly with the update. Yeah.
Chubb could have torn his MCL and LCL. It didn't look like he was in a ton of pain. Almost tried to get up. Yeah, that was the thing too. On the cart, he looked like
Okay.
Like he's sitting on the couch watching TV, but he's a tough son of a gun.
We'll take ligament tears over broken bones all day, in my opinion. Just lesser of two evils.
This is unbelievable. So Goose's name that he put in here, and then R. Showers said, was that the kicker? Was that the Falcons kicker? No, it was not. All right, we're out of here. You guys are out of control. For those of you listening on the pod, thank you for making us a part of your day. As always, let's go out and be the change we want to see in the world. Go encourage somebody, guys. Get out of the house, touch some grass, and make this world a little bit better place. Y'all have a great day. As always, go Pack Go.
The power sweep. Actually, it's the lead play in our offense.
Come and tackle, take the defensive end if he's over him. If he's not, you drive down the first man to his inside. Pull back and tell him to take the first man outside the offensive tackle. No one goes. Go right by them and field inside. If the YN has the linebacker taken out, he cuts inside. If the YN has the linebacker in, he comes all the way around. If you look at this play, what we're trying to get is a seal here and a seal here, and try to run this play in the alley.